Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated in preparation for the entry of the family. And a gentle reminder to please turn off your cell phones. A warm welcome to everyone. My name is Denise Cunningham, and it is my honor and privilege to have been invited here today to help you celebrate the incredible life of Walter Gunter Preissl, someone very special to each one of you. On behalf of myself and Walter's family, we would like to acknowledge that we are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples of the Kikite and Kweketlam First Nations. Aho. I'd like to begin this celebration of life by lighting a candle to represent the light and life of Walter, and to remind us all of the light and life within each of us. Let's pray. Great Father, Mother God, Creator, watch over us this day and all days. Give us the strength to accept what is past, to appreciate what is present, and to look forward to good in our future. Grant us peace, sacred moments of communion with the universe, and faith in whatever most expresses our deepest inner truth. Bless us and heal us. Breathe peace and grace into our lives. Amen. We are here to give thanks for Walter's life and thanks for the experiences that you shared with him, to tell the story of Walter, and to bless him on this next part of his journey. Walter has touched your lives and your hearts, and he will live there forever. He held many relational roles: son, brother, uncle, cousin, husband, father, grandfather, great-grandfather. But I believe his most important role was a spiritual one, that of Spirit's eyes, hands, and heart here on earth. It's an important day when we gather together to remember and honor a life. Time stands still for just a moment as we acknowledge that someone has left an imprint on our hearts and that our souls are eternally changed because of them. Walter left his physical body on August 26th, but death isn't the ultimate end. Our souls know that it's merely a transition in the continuum of life, a transition from body to spirit. Walter's life made a difference and will continue to do so as long as each of you remember him in your hearts and carry forward the life lessons he shared with you. You now are the representatives and the ambassadors of Walter's legacy. He gave you wonderful gifts of kindness, graciousness, strength, acceptance, and love. We are here to express gratitude that his inspirational life was part of this earth plane for over 90 years. And how incredible is it that we are gathering together today to celebrate his life on what would have been his 91st birthday. We are grateful for how he guided, how he taught, and how he loved. His life mattered very much. Each of you has a special Walter story. Every person here, both in person and listening in on the video stream, represents a life that Walter made an impression on. This is a sacred and special time where we can share. Let our tears flow and let laughter heal. We'll hear the music of his heart and see the snapshots of his time on earth. And finally, we will leave this space, taking a portion of Walter's life with us in our own hearts, where his influence and spirit will live on forever. Today we say goodbye, but we also say hello. We say goodbye to the physical focus of our relationship with this great man, but we greet the relationship with his spirit that now begins anew. While Walter is no longer with us in the physical realm, he remains very much alive in the hearts and the memories of every person whose life he touched. Every story that you will share today and in the future keeps his memory and his spirit alive, not just for each of you, but also for the generations to come. I invite you to think of the gifts Walter left in your heart. Remember his laugh, his smile, his love of life and adventure, and how much he loved his family, his friends, his colleagues, and his clients. He gave fully to life and to each of you. He lived life on his terms and made the world a better place for having done so. And how fortunate he was to have had each of you in his life, to have been gifted the blessing of your comfort and your care, especially in the last few years of his life. To Marie, my prayer for you is that you will allow the light of sorrow to illumine you. Grief can stretch your heart and allow more light to shine there than ever before. Your bond with Walter was neither temporal nor temporary. You have just celebrated your 65th wedding anniversary last month, and your bond with him will live on in your heart forever. Walter will live as an angel on your shoulder, watching over you and protecting you. He will be a blessing to you always. And to Walter's children, Al and Pete, and Karen, and John and Andy. May you remember throughout the rest of your lives what a great man your father was. He was strong, good, brave, and a kind man with integrity, and his spirit will be with you forever. He will be an angel who watches over each of you and a force of love that always protects you. His spirit remains with you, and all the good in him lives on in you. Marie has shared a poem that I would like to share with you, and it's called The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? Thank you, Marie. That's beautiful. And now I would like to turn things over to Karen, and she will invite those who would like to share a memory or a story to come up. Thanks.
A club I did not want to belong to, where one of my parents has passed away, but a club that I can't avoid. Good day and guten Tag to all the family here in the room today, and family and friends joining us from around the country and in Austria. We're saddened, of course, that all of you aren't able to be with us here during this sorrowful time, but it is strange times, of course. And we just know that everybody here in the room and for everybody out there, we're thinking of you and having virtual e-hugs and tears and telling tall tales together. On behalf of our family, we'd like to express our gratitude for the tsunami of support, heartfelt support, such a tsunami of love, whether by healing prayers beforehand, before Dad passed, or subsequent phone calls, texts, private messages, posts, visits, cards, flowers, comments on the online obituary, or zucchini lasagna. Every condolence counted, every memory mattered, every lasagna loved. Thank you, Dankeschön and Hojtska. My Tante Liesl in Austria would like to say the following. Meine geliebte Brüder, wir werden dich nie vergessen. Deine warmherzige Art, deine stark und dein wunderbarer Charakter. Du wirst immer in unseren Herzen sein. In Trauer nehmen wir Abschied. Deine Schwester, Liesl. Translation, my dear brother, we will never forget you and your warm-hearted manner, your strength, and your wonderful character. You will always be in our hearts. We say goodbye in sorrow. Love, your sister Liesl from Austria and all the families there. Danke, Tante Liesl. I have to share a story. They had the most beautiful moment a week or so before his passing. I called her on WhatsApp, and I put the phone up to his ear, and she spoke to him in the most loving, gentle, warm words. I didn't understand a word of it, but I could sure feel it, and so I was bawling my eyes out. And Dad, who of course suffered from dementia, he grabbed the phone and he held it up, and he started tearing. And it was just beautiful. It was like he absolutely knew that his sister was there with him. So thank you so much, Tante Liesl and the rest of our family in Austria. We know you loved Uncle Gunter very much, and we know him as Walter here, and thanks to an immigration guard saying the name Gunter will never fly over here in Canada. Your name is now Walter. Okay, so you'll be hearing a series of shares from each of us kids, and a couple of minutes each from someone from each of the clans. And so now over to mein Bruder Al, who will give the main eulogy, followed by 2 to 3 minutes for each of the rest of us.
Hi, I don't need a microphone. I talk too loud. I was asked to write it out, and to you in Austria, I will write it out and I will send it. It just won't, you couldn't read my notes. I can barely read my notes, so there was no point in sending you a picture of my notes. I'll talk about Dad's early days. He was born in Gmünd, Lower Austria, in the potato growing district, and that became a problem later because one day he was really upset that he got potatoes. And I asked him, why are you upset about getting potatoes? He said, when I grew up, I had potatoes for breakfast, potatoes for lunch, and potatoes for dinner. I don't want them 2 times in a week. And that was the only time I ever heard a complaint about potatoes. One of his happier moments when he was 5 years old, we have a picture of this. He dreamt, he really honestly wanted to be at the costume party. He wanted to be a native Canadian Indian. Not a cowboy, he wanted to be a native Canadian Indian. And his mother, surprisingly, actually made him a full suit with tassels and feathers and the whole works. And that was one of his highlights that he remembers. I don't know where the picture is, but we do have it. Somewhere when he was 10 years old when Germany annexed Austria, and then of course things change. You don't really go to school anymore. Your living is your schooling, and is your education. When he was in grade school, he saw all that pink stuff in the atlas, and it was Canada. And at the very bottom of the map, there is a little square thing that says the amount of people per square kilometer. It was 0.6 people per square kilometer. He goes, I'm going to go there after the war. I want to live there because they'll never fight. They can never find each other. If the army came in from one end, they'll never find the other army. They'll die of starvation. So that was his reason for wanting to go to Canada. When he was 13 years old, he woke up early one morning, and this would be 1941. I'm trying to stay away from the war, but there will be some in it. was the first month, I believe, that Russia was invaded by the Germans, and the Austrians were the first to go in at one point. And he woke up, there was an SS soldier standing at the end of his bed, 6:45 in the morning, and he said, "Your father was a town barber, and he disappeared on the Russian front. You are now the town barber, and you start in 15 minutes downstairs." So that's how I became a hairstylist and a hair cutter and a barber. There was only one fashion style for the German military, and that was all off, regardless of what they requested. It all had to come off. He said he was cutting 15 haircuts an hour, and he was quite nervous about it because he was continuously watched by officers in the room most of the time. And some of them would bring in photographs in the magazines, and they'll cut out pictures of movie stars and go, "I want to look like this." He would look at it, yeah, no problem. And he would cut their hair in his allotted 4 minutes. And then he would show, "Yeah, you look just like him." They would give him a tip. They honestly, with a mirror, thought they looked like the movie star. Figure that one out. In Gmund, there is a butcher shop, a barber shop, and a bakery, and also the town hall, which is about 3/4 the size of this room, right across from the front door. And originally, when my dad was a kid, him and the family thought the house was 400 or 500 years old. And then they realized it was 600 years old. And then we got a letter from Austria saying the house was from the 800s. It was the oldest residence in Europe still being used, oldest residence in Austria still being used. And so it therefore became a part of the Heritage Society, owned it, maintained it. To this day, they still do it, whether it was a light switch or plumbing, because they didn't want the family doing their own renovations.
Fancy that.
Yeah. It had Roman architecture. It was built following the Romans. The Romans came there because they had the best granite in the Roman Empire. That's why they stayed there. It just looked like granite to me. His father's name was Erich Preissl. He was an architectural engineer. His mother was Hilda Preissl, and she was the Minister of Employment for Lower Austria. When I saw a picture when I was a kid, I have this photo now. I said, "What is that with the horses and the carriages?" He said, I thought he said, "This is my granduncle's funeral. He was assassinated in the start of World War I. But what it was my grandfather's granduncle. It was Erich Preissl's relative, that granduncle that was the Archduke of Austria. I guess one of the 3 people in Austria could make that claim now. He was mostly raised during the wartime. He was mostly raised by his grandmother and also his aunt. And his friend, his parents were university professors, and during the war, universities were no longer seen as useful. He didn't contribute to the military, so universities were closed, and his friend's parents had no job and no source of income, and I guess that would mean no food. And so the 2 of them cooked up some ideas to be a black market runner. And so the dad from the barber shop would figure out who manned the roadblocks. Black market was illegal. It resulted in being shot. So he knew every soldier, what shift he was on the roadblocks, and was particularly friendly to these ones. And every day after work, he'd go to the roadblock, and he'd be bringing out chocolates, cigarettes, women's stockings. I can't remember what the other thing was. They had a brandy, I guess, imported liquors. And on the way back, he would have butter, eggs, sometimes bread, but lots of chicken. And I looked at him and go, "How could you possibly carry all this on a bike without anyone seeing?" He goes, "I got the biggest pants I can get in town." And he tied a rope at the bottom of his pant legs. And he said he had to pedal 15 kilometers one way and all the way back. And he was not a large, tall person either, so it must have been exhausting. He said, I had to do it. He goes, 11 people depended on him for food. Eggs, butter, chicken, milk. I can't read my own writing here. A pack of American cigarettes could get you a weekend at the most expensive hotel in Vienna. All the cognac you could drink, all the meals you could eat, in a moment of desire for the whole weekend thrown in. I go, how did you know that? He didn't answer me. But he said later, it was no. It was so valuable. He goes, that contributed to the food. So it would have to go in, even I'm sure he was tempted. It was pretty rare to see a pack of American cigarettes at that end of the world. When he was old enough to be enlisted, he was removed from the job of town barber and he had to enlist. He tried for the Air Force because the girls liked pilots. And he was too small, he was too light, and the rocks in the boots at the medical got found out, so that ended that. So he became a courier that felt sorry for us. He became a courier and he ran documents all over during wartime. When he should have been in high school, he was running paperwork and whatever else, and there was a big pack, he said. And one time, one odd thing that he remembered, he told me about, he was, I guess, a couple hundred kilometers west of Innsbruck, east of Innsbruck, west of Innsbruck on the Swiss border in a town. And he said, on the main street in broad daylight, an American pilot in uniform grabbed his arm and says, could you help me please, in perfect English, in front of everyone. And he, what would a 14-year-old going to do, right? Or a 15-year-old. So he kind of freaked out, took him to a business, and they were horrified that he would walk them through at daytime. And they ran him down the basement, kept him down there, and said, okay, you come back tonight, we'll tell you what to do. I don't want anything to do with this, but we don't either. We got to get him out of here. And this town had a lot of soldiers in it because of its closeness to Switzerland. People smuggling, people escaping, people walking Jews over the mountains into Switzerland, pilots, refugees, and money runners, who knows. So we went back there and they said, we have to walk him over the mountains. And he go, what? Really? Yeah. So he walked him. He said he really felt sorry. It was a long haul, and the guy had thin shoes on. He goes, that guy he thought he was going to die on before he got over there. There was just so much snow. And he said he got him over there, and when he got the other side, he gave him some money, American money, Austrian money or something, all his coins, chocolate bars, and a pack of cigarettes. And I always wondered, I wondered, he didn't wonder what happened to him, but because he hoped at least he didn't die in my shift. But then they'd have to walk all the way back in the nighttime. This whole thing took all night and all day, I guess. But, near the end of the war, he had to bring some documents out to the front. He had never actually been at the front itself, and he had to stay there, was ordered to stay there. But he had an abscess in his tooth, went up, and his whole face was puffed up. And there was a doctor, felt sympathetic, because they ordered every kid over 12 years old that could pick up a gun in the old age homes and the hospitals, to empty them all out. They're going to make one last stand against all the allies that are coming up the hill 2 kilometers away. And a doctor grabbed every teenager and said, sick, sick, sick. Oh, you're really sick. Get on that train, go now. He goes, 20 minutes later, they left. They were all taken away from the front. And they were all betting the war's going to be over in 3 or 4 days. But he still had his courier pouch, and he still had his face like that. So they got off the train, hid in the forest, performed self-surgery, and what are we going to do with these big heavy pack sacks we got? This courier, you're not allowed to open it, you're not allowed to read it, it's not the reason to get shot. What if the war doesn't finish? So they said, no, we got to open this to see what this is. And it was from an officer, German officer, stationed in Paris. He ended up with these packages, and it was love letters to his wife, love letters to his mistress, and he sent his wife useful things that she could have sold. There was cigarettes, money, and stockings. And he sent to his mistress, he sent her chocolate, cigarettes, brandy, things that she could use to, I guess, feed themselves. And so he ate all the chocolate, drank all the brandy, drank all the cognac, had read all the letters, and smoked all the cigarettes, so they got sick. And then when they felt better, they crawled outside, met the world. They said, what happened to the battle down the street down 20 kilometers away? Oh, everybody just ran down the 4th and threw their guns down, just ran down the 4th and surrendered. So there was no gun exchange. And the war's over, so you better get out of that uniform. So he never got punished for eating the chocolate and the cognac and smoking the cigarettes. But after that, he stayed in Cumberland for a while, but now he's official town barber for the Russian soldiers. Russia had annexed Austria as a part of the peace treaty, and they had a different hairstyle, all off, at the same rate, not quite as 15 per hour, but it was a lot of soldiers per hour. And eventually he found his way in Linz. He went into construction in Linz. And he was a short while in Vienna with his father and his father's second wife and his sister Elizabeth, not Liesl was the name I know her by. He was there briefly, and he always tried to get into Canada. Said the only way to do it was to go through Italy, and he would go down to Italy illegally. He didn't have a permit to control millions of people leaving their countries for a better world. They had to have a visa and permit system, and he got caught every time he was in Italy. They picked him up pretty easy, and you had to spend a couple of nights in jail. And the whole works, you end up on the train going all the way back to Austrian border. They push you off, then 2 months later he's back down there again to repeat as necessary. And one day someone said, you would still want to go to Canada. There's a Canadian immigration center, got this hallway, and they're taking applications. And so he ran down there as fast as he could after work, and the room was empty. He thought they were finished. No, they took his application. He wrote it down. 2 weeks later, he got a letter in the mail saying, you've been accepted. You leave from Italy in 6 weeks. Go to Halifax. So that was the end of his Austria. That was the end of him living in Austria. And the condition for entry into Canada was you had to have $5. I heard $2, but I distinctly remember him telling me $5. There's a possibility he may have drank more than he wanted to and maybe gambled some on that long voyage. But when he got to Halifax, he didn't have $5. So his friend agreed, I will get off, go down the gangplank, I'll enter Canada, I'll have the $5, and I'll come back. They're allowed to stay overnight on the ship if they didn't have money for a hotel. And they could even eat on the ship. They gave him 3 meals a day on the ship if they wanted to come back. And so he didn't have $5, he had to live on the ship. And the guy had forgotten about it. He was drunk every day and having a good time. And then my dad said he was sick with worry because he could see himself going back to Austria because of this $5 going back to Italy. He started up the motors. The motors were getting prepared to disembark, and the ship hit its whistle. And this guy that forgot about him heard the whistle, goes, oh my gosh, Gunter. And he sprinted down from wherever he was, middle of town, all the way down the dock, ran up the gangplank, gave him the $5 in front of all the authorities at the bottom of the gangplank. Walter walks down the gangplank, welcome to Canada. And from there, he only there 2 nights, I think. I'm not sure, 2 nights?
1 year in Montreal.
And then he went to Montreal and worked in a hotel. He was introduced to oysters. He just loved oysters. He could, as many oysters as he could eat to supplement his diet with oysters and everything else a grand hotel would have. And but one day he had bad oysters, and he never had another oyster again for the rest of his life. When he decided he still wanted to push on to the west, and he got on the train and got off at Penticton, Penticton. And the first day he walked into a barbershop, he was hired on the spot. We didn't understand. Between his French and his Italian and his German and his 20 words of English, they couldn't understand that he just got hired. But it's too late today, come back tomorrow. So he wouldn't leave the room. So the owner of the barbershop got on the phone and phoned Frank Grundig's father, Grundig Sr., who he knew was German, and speak German. He says, I have this crazy Austrian here. Could you tell him that he's hired, come back tomorrow? And so he talked on the phone, yeah, you're hired, come back tomorrow, go home. And he goes, oh, okay. And Frank Grundig Jr. was there and said, Dad, who are you talking to? He goes, there's some crazy Austrian in the barbershop that won't leave. And he goes, a crazy Austrian, a real one? Yeah, I go, let's go see him. So he drove down to Penticton, and they became best buds. And this Austrian crew, this Penticton crew, the half Austrian, and this Canadians, Vic Berndl and Frank Grundig and others, they became lifelong friends. And it started there. And there were 6 of them living in this house, rooming. I guess it was a real party house. And he was at daytime listening to the radio, full blast, like every other day, listening to the radio station. And they heard this guy talking to realize it was his last roommate that didn't have a day job. And the only person they interviewed was this one. He was a flaming communist, and he was pro-Stalin. This communism will save the world. My dad just thought they were going to burn the house down, so he quit right then and there, moved out next day. And Vic Berndl said, I'm coming. Frank Grundig goes, I'm coming too. And so Vic Berndl borrowed his dad's convertible Cadillac. That part, I was kind of wondering about that part. Brand new Cadillac being lent to his 20-year-old son. Yeah, what? Really? Okay, and that's how they got to Vancouver. He couldn't get a job in the Hotel Vancouver where he wanted to work in the barbershop, but he did get a job as a dishwasher. And this is and Marie Johnson was a student nurse across the street in Burrard and up 3 blocks at St. Paul's Hospital. And her girlfriend Lois and Marie decided to go on a blind date with Vic Berndl and his Cadillac and Walter. And halfway through the date, Marie said this wasn't working with Vic, and Lois said this isn't working with Walter. He won't stop talking. I don't know what it was. So the girls jumped over the seat. The woman jumped over the seat, traded. Vic and Lois got married at the same time Marie and Walter did. There are some spectacular moments it's hard to describe. My mom said to me, your dad wants to go hike up Seymour and watch the sun come up. He wants to leave around midnight. And he bought a $1.29 flashlight. We hiked up in the dark, and there was no moon, no city lights then hardly. And you couldn't see you were walking. It was the darkest night. We had this $1.29 disposable flashlight. We walked all the way up the first peak, sat on the edge of a cliff, and then we just stopped talking. We were tired. I was tired. And we, without speaking, without thinking, you see that dark purple come out between some clouds and the mountains. You just see the division between heaven and earth. It slowly changes more purple and dark reds, and the orange and the gold all mix in with it. And these clouds 100 kilometers away were making this spectacular show. I just felt like I was 2 miles across, and me and him were the same person or something. I can't really describe it. We were the closest I've ever been to anyone and everything. I belonged to everything, and everything belonged to me and was just a part of it. We never talked about it very much. She goes, yeah, I remember that. That was just absolutely spectacular. On the way down, when the sun came up, we looked at the cloud. It was just a plain, flat little cloud 100 miles away. But you can't chase something spectacular. It's really hard to make something spectacular. People get addicted to chasing the spectacular. You become, if you get addicted to it, they call you a adrenaline junkie. If you're addicted to it in your relationships, you're addicted to the honeymoon stage. You're a passion addict, I used to say in school. It's not the spectacular that makes someone, it's all those ordinary moments add up to a spectacular relationship. You can't force them. It won't help you with alcohol or drugs or money or luxury. You can get something maybe close to it, but it's the ordinary, it's the closest to other humans. It's the acceptance that is spectacular. Walter would have had a hard time with this COVID-19 distancing. He had a black belt in COVID. He had a black belt in social closeness. And he had that Walter pour. He had a black belt and social lubrication. And everyone knows about that. If you took your eye off your drink, you would just tip it up just a little bit. You would never know how much you had. that was good memories too. And if I drank a lot at parties, I would do the same thing. I think make people feel more accepted. What I learned off my dad was accept everyone. You don't know what they've been through. Don't ever talk down to someone. Don't talk up to them unless they need it. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a book in them. He said that. He goes, everyone has a book. Even though it sounds ordinary to you, you don't know how much you suffered. If you're accepting to everyone, your life will go well. Everyone will accept you in their life. Thank you. I don't know how I'm going to write this all out. Any questions? Just kidding.
Way to go, Al. Good job. Excellent job.
Thanks, Al. I'm spectacular.
You are.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be reading out Pete, my brother's eulogy. He is in Churchill, Manitoba, with working and with the polar bears and beluga whales. And speaking on behalf of everybody here, miss you, Pete. Wish you were here, and I also know that you're there doing your purpose. This from Pete. There are three main things that I learned from my dad that allowed me a good life, and one fourth thing that's just funny and will go down in Preissl history. My passion for the mountains and nature is literally in my DNA, and Nicole and Sam now have it in their DNA. Whether it's backcountry skiing, resort skiing, mountain biking, hiking, or walking through trees, I can't not do it. Same for my kids. Nicole is bound to nature in a unique way and works with trees and even harvests cedar strips, while Sam is always on the mountain regardless of the season or the weather. When Sam called Grandpa, Grandpa always asked Sam which runs he skied and how was the snow. Dad gave skiing 100%, but a eulogy would not be complete without a nod to his après-ski life activities. Dad could party, as evidenced in many a black and white photo of après-ski parties that puts us kids to shame. Please note, Karen unfortunately missed the après-ski gene. Pete, some of us are just more discreet. Second was Dad's work ethic. He missed about 3 days in his 60 years of working. So first off, 3 days. Second off, 60 years of working. He started at 15 and retired at 75, and probably would have kept going if he hadn't been in an accident that wrecked his fingers. I remember sometimes being on the same bus on the way to work as Dad, which I enjoyed, talking with him on the way down. Work had its place with Dad, but he equally balanced family. He had good boundaries. Once, Jimmy Pattison, one of Canada's billionaires, showed up late at closing time for a haircut, and Dad told him he'd have to reschedule an appointment because it was family time now. The third thing I got from Dad is organization. Okay, well, I haven't yet mastered that totally. I am, however, organized enough to show up on the mountain without forgetting anything. I can still hear Dad in my head when we were in the station wagon. Okay, everybody, listen up. Skis, boots, poles, gloves, goggles, hat, scarf, ski pass, lunch. We have so many times heard that over and over again that we had to go around and grab something if somebody forgot. But of course, the exception is Karen never forgot anything. Sorry, Pete, I added that. Several of our friends have texted us this week, Rob, Brenda, with this memory of Dad's ski list as well. And they actually texted it out word for word exactly as I wrote it out. And so it serves many of us to this day. Okay, the fourth thing. Dad passed his love of quality beer and fine wines down to me. However, the biggest thing I'll remember However, the biggest thing I'll remember is his Walter pours. He felt the best way to be a good host was to be generous, and very generous, so that when you retrieved your drink, you had to be careful or you might spill a drop. So, to the Walter pour on whatever après-ski event he's participating in now. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Pete. Okay, now from me. 2 values I learned from Dad were relationship and respect. Relationship. Dad was a lover, not a fighter. He had mastered relationship with all who knew him, wife, family, friends, and clients. Let's start with Mom. First off, I dare anyone to match the amount of anniversaries that my dad celebrated with my mom. He had 3. The day they met, the day he proposed and she said yes, and their wedding date. These dates always included long-stemmed red roses, listen up folks, dinner and dancing to the wee hours. And I know I'm speaking on behalf of my brothers when I say I'd make the phone call on a Sunday. Hey Mom, what'd you do last night? Oh, Dad took me out for dinner to the wherever, and we went dancing, and we closed down the place. And then we took a cab home, and I said, what time did you get home, Mom? She goes, oh, I don't know, about 2:30, 3, somewhere in there. And we always laughed because, we're at home sleeping at 1 o'clock in the morning. And in addition to the dinner, dancing, and roses, and the anniversaries, I should say, I'm not even talking about, the lilies for Easter, poinsettias and roses for Christmas, and roses on her birthday. Like any couple, there can be frustration or testiness, but I never witnessed Dad, and Mom confirmed this, I never saw him belittle, name call, or minimize my mom. So she was always held in high regard. And I felt the same that he felt the same. I felt the same on the receiving end of that as well. As far as his family, you'll hear lots, and you already have heard lots from my dad about family, so I'm going to go on to his friends. His friends, some of you who are listening in, have been friends with my dad for 60 to 80 years. 60 to 80 years. He was so loyal, non-judgmental, uncomplaining, fun, and dedicated to his friends. He organized regular visits or outings, the aforementioned après-skiing, which apparently I don't have the gene for, but Dad did. This has been a deep learning for me, this relationship, as I celebrate with my friends, whom I've known for 55 years this month. His clients are next. Again, lots of longevity. People who traveled across the country to get their hair cut by my dad. One family had 3 generations have their hair cut by him. At one point, as a customer service manager, asked what his secret was to not having an empty chair. And he said he wears a tie, calls them sir, and gives them a head massage. While the likes of Jimmy Pattison and Jack Charles, billionaires and millionaires, liked him so much that they would have him on their yacht several times during the year over the years. That being said, I felt he always had healthy boundaries between keeping work and home separate, which kind of bugged me because I would like to hang out with Ringo Starr or Alan Watts. But anyways, the secondly is respect. In addition to relationship, I really learned respect from my dad. We all refer to him, as many do, as the gentleman's gentleman. He was well-groomed, had good manners. He would always walk on the car side. When him and I were walking down a sidewalk, he would always kind of maneuver himself so that he was on the side of the cars. When I asked why he did that, he said so the car would hit him first before it would hit me. And I was gobsmacked. I don't know how young I was, 12 years old or something, and to have that kind of protector energy and gallantry and chivalry, it was a life moment for me. I know chivalry has often been misconstrued as not holding women capable. Well, you just have to take one look at how intelligent and potent my mom is in order to forget that notion. So obviously, Dad held women as being someone to respect, I should say, and being respectful. He also made sure that I met my potential. I told him in grade 11 that maybe I should be a secretary when I got out of school, and he laughed and he said he'd never see me taking orders from a manager. And I said, well, what should I do then? He says, be the manager. So I did. The short version of another story is that I boycotted doing the dishes when I was 7 years old because I felt that household chores and me doing the dishes was a gender-based offense to me. I was 7 at the time. Next day, he talked it over with Mom, and the next day, in his own handwriting, he had a schedule on the fridge for all 7 members of the family, taking a day of the week to do the dishes. And I, in turn, then would help my brothers with snow removal and grass cutting. This was a defining moment for me in my respect for my dad and realizing that he respected me and my opinion and my stance enough to make some changes in the family. Although my brothers never forgave me. But I like to think that they were ahead of the curve, though, because of what happened there. Dad always walks every guest out to the car, opens the door for them, and this is remembered by all of us in the family, and many in the family are doing that as well. So, Dankeschön, Dad, Hojtke, for instilling in me and your ever-growing clan the value of relationship and deep respect. Gute Nacht and Schlaf gut. Now I'd like to introduce my brother John, who's going to come up and give his... Thank you.
Well, some beautiful moments. I'd like to thank everybody, of course, for being here. And everybody on this Zoom meeting, absolutely unbelievable. First of all, I'd like to thank Mom. And we won the life lottery. We won the life lottery, having you and Dad as our parents. You guys have showed us so much love. We had to work hard. Everybody works hard. One of the things I want to talk about my dad, you guys put us through ski racing, which was, to me, everything. Not sure how you could afford it, but Dad always told, I remember me and Andy, we had to have jobs. You looked after everything from day one, and ski racing was expensive for a nurse and a barber. And I tell you, all of us, 5 of us, we became very good ski racers. I kind of had a lifelong addiction to ski racing, but I always remember Dad saying, it costs money, you gotta work hard to do this. And Andy and I, we delivered newspapers, Andy sold candles, and everybody else, we always had to work really hard. But what Dad showed us with that ski racing and his hard work, I'll get into his romantic side in a bit, was that we got to play in the mountains, and we got to play in the mountains a lot. We grew up climbing and rock climbing. I still rock climb all the time. I really enjoy bouldering, but growing up like in Garibaldi Park in the Sea to Sky was absolutely my favorite thing to do. We got to go out in the water with our uncles and everything, but being in the mountains was absolutely unbelievable. Everybody should take a look at this. We'll bring it this afternoon, these books. Most of us have seen these pictures. Dad's climbed actually quite a bit more than 100 mountains. He's climbed about 130 by my last count. I'm at about 90, but I've stopped counting now. I don't want to surpass that. But he taught us how to be respectful of the snow, rock climbing, rocks. I know Pete actually, sorry Pete, he did take a little rock in the head, tiny little rock up in Black Tusk. But Mom and Dad taught us how literally to be in the mountains in all 4 seasons. I still play in the mountains, all the kids play in the mountains, and that is one of Dad's legacies and Mom's legacies, is that you're all playing in the mountains pretty well, which is really cool. We don't just play in the mountains, we have to respect the mountains, as Grandpa and Grandma showed us, which is really cool. But I want to get also back into Dad's romantic side. Dad's romantic side, Karen touched on it, we've all touched it here. You've never seen anybody quite like that. He looked after Mom. It wasn't just the birthdays and the anniversaries and everything else. He'd come home from his long walks with flowers. 2 years ago, Dad came back and we hoofed up Deer Lake. I took a video of him 2 years ago in mid-stage dementia. He still had that athletic stride. And I put it out on Facebook. I said, anybody want to come with us up Burnaby Mountain? Because my dad would kick your ass, I can assure you that. And he was absolutely amazing. But on the way home, coming up the stairs, and it's about 3 kilometers, and we were hauling pretty good. And I just blown away by how good a shape he was in. We had to stop by the store to buy Mom flowers. So we made a detour. He was 87 and a half years, or 88 years old at that time. Made a detour and bought Mom flowers. Even in his mid-stage dementia, he was looking after Mom, which was quite amazing. The last year and a half was challenging for sure, but it was an amazing dad to have, amazing mentor to have, Dad was, and incredible inspiration to see him climb like that and to go. But he would always stop and smell the roses. He was an amazing photographer, which I didn't realize until the 90s, and hence my photography, I think. But he was an amazing photographer. He took pictures of us all, which is really cool, and I think hence why I'm a photographer now. But I'd like to thank everybody, and Mom and Dad. We did win the life lottery having you guys as parents. Thank you very much.
Very good, John.
Thanks, John.
And Brother Andy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andy. I'm Walter's youngest son. I feel blessed to live in the same house with my mom and dad my whole life. I never left home. And there's a reason for that, as everybody has just talked about. When I grew up, the TV was never really on a lot. My dad referred to the TV as the idiot box. And he was so right, because he would rather read a book. An hour watching TV is an hour you're never going to get back. An hour exercising your mind had benefits to that. And his whole life, he just read. He loved reading his books. I think the TV really didn't come around until he retired. And he would give himself time slots for when he would watch TV. He liked the old movies, and there was a movie on from, say, 8 to 10. Well, the TV went on at 5 to 8. It went off at 10. So some of the lines we would hear at home, living in the same house with Mom and Dad, is even though the floor was insulated, we would hear, "Yoo-hoo, Marie, the movie's on!" And Dad being Dad, 4.5 seconds later, "Marie, hurry up, you're missing the movie!" And then it was quiet because they would watch their show. And we knew that at 10:01 the TV went off, and that was it. And it was just periodic that they would watch their TV, and that was Mom and Dad's special time sitting together. And it worked out really well for them. So in Dad's true fashion, on the actual birth date of my 4 children, in true Dad fashion, Dad would come downstairs and give that firm handshake and a bottle of scotch in the other hand. And he always said it was the good stuff. When in actual fact, it really tasted awful. It was single filtered or double filtered or malt something or another. It was absolutely horrible. So we would always have a little shot and cheers to fatherhood, and oh, okay, well that's over with. So, but in true Dad fashion, he'd always pour another one. "Oh, no, Dad, no, one more. The first one cleanses the palate." But I have to cleanse my palate to enjoy the good stuff, Dad? Oh, not Dad. I got beer in the fridge. Let's have a beer. It was always the good stuff. So Dad would come regularly. We switched at home. I think we were downstairs in the suite, and then we switched when we had more kids. Anyways, Dad would come upstairs after retirement regularly in the mornings. Dad was always up early just to say hello. And our door was always open, and it was always open, whether it be morning or night, didn't matter. But Dad just liked to come up in the morning because he's up early. We just hang out. That's all. But he always addressed his grandkids by their first name. Hello, Adam. Hello, Alex. Angela, Austin. Good morning. How are you? Right? So anyway, Laura and I are always busy getting the kids ready for school, making lunches, and getting ourselves ready to go to school. And one day, of all these years of visiting, one day stuck out. He come upstairs, good morning, hi everybody, and he gave us a weather report, and he says, gold is up $10 today. And it was like, what? And he goes, there's some ratio between gold and silver, they follow each other in price and up and down. And I was like, okay, Dad. So I think what that was is he was quite happy. I'm only assuming that he had a good day on the stock market. Dad loved the stock market. So I had no idea what that was about. And then he says, oh yeah, Mother needs to borrow 2 eggs. I said, okay. And it was just really one day. It was just Dad being Dad. It was really quite something. So, right, yeah. So anyways, Dad was a true Virgo. We have a few Virgos in our family. We all know what they're like. Very structured and full of routine. Well, Dad's routine for like decades, absolutely decades, was his morning breakfast. Except Sundays, actually. Sundays was reserved for bacon and eggs. Dad would make his own cereal. For decades, he ate the same thing, and it was wheat germ, shredded wheat, bran, flaxseed, a little dash of cod liver oil, and a 3/4 cup of skim milk. And that's what he had for decades. That was just one of his routines. Right, just one of his routines. And I think one of his other routines was to make a list. Even when Dad was retired, he'd write out a list. Breakfast, walk, library, lunch, and he would tick it off. As he would tick off his, even in his retired life, but it worked. It worked for him. That probably drove Mom nuts, but yeah. So anyways, it was just, yeah, it was quite something just to be around that. And as we've all talked about with Dad in the mountains, is he was a true Whistler pioneer. And it's just amazing to me how our family photo albums are all of us in Whistler before that place even existed. To me, it's amazing. There's dozens of books on Whistler, but none of them I've ever even read. They're not worth it because we were living and breathing that story. So it was quite something. So it was just amazing. I just thought, Dad and his friends had us all up there, you know, before that Garibaldi Lift Company even existed. It was quite something. So the photo, it's just an amazing story. And Laura and I feel very fortunate to have raised our children in Mom and Dad's house, because Mom will always say when we all go away or go for a hike or have to go for a drive, is to put yourself in that big white bubble. I have been blessed to have lived in Mom and Dad's big white bubble my whole life. So everybody likes to come over, and there's something, I like coming home. I like living with my Mom and Dad and my family, and to raise our family with Mom and Dad, it was just so special. It was just incredible. It was just Dad's presence every morning or every other morning, or however often that was, just to come up and hang out. We were just a part of his day, and he was a part of our day. And it worked really, really well. And he was just a warm, loving household that Mom and Dad created. So he was a good man, and he will be missed, and I just cannot thank him enough for everything he's done for me. Thank you.
Well done, Andy. Well done.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, so think we're way over time. I'd like to, so now we're going to hear briefly from the grandchildren. Us siblings, we're supposed to be brief, and I think I just threw that all out the water. So. Yeah, anyways, okay, so I would like to introduce Matt Preissl, who is the oldest brother Al's son.
I didn't write anything down because it's too much like school. I'm too far away. I'm trying to describe Grandpa. Oh, this is gonna be hard. In one word. It's impossible. Kind. It's too general of a word. Sure, he's kind, caring, always smiling, always listening. But kind's a general word. Courageous. Come here from Austria after the Second World War with a German accent. Couldn't have been easy. Strong. Hike Baker for a pre-warm-up. Like, come on. Running Deer Lake. Even at the end, in his wheelchair. There was no stopping him. Educated. Like, not just school educated, but he wanted to learn everybody else's culture, their lives, their understanding, what they've been through. Family. First and most important on his list was his family. You guys are all number one. You guys should all feel grateful that you got to be raised by him. I mean, he was a legendary father, legendary husband, legendary sibling, legendary grandfather, great-grandfather. So it brings me to the word that I think I can describe him with, and that's legacy. Because every single person that's been a part of his life is now his legacy. As long as we keep his teachings together and we keep speaking his name, whatever word you choose to describe him as, keep that word close to you, because that's his legacy that lives on in all of us. If it wasn't for him, none of us would be here. And I don't mean like here physically. I mean all of us Austrian blood that's now in Canada is because of Grandpa. And as long as we keep remembering him and speaking his name, his legacy is going to live on forever. And that's all I got.
Excellent, Matt, excellent.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt, on behalf of Heather, Allison, and Aaron. The next is Nicole and/or Sam. I just realized I didn't. Okay, Sam, on behalf of Nicole and Sam. Pete's.
All right, I got a little something written down. Well, hello everyone. It's so great to be in the room with everyone here. I'm so happy to be here today and share this moment with everyone. I'm speaking on behalf of Nicole and my mom and I, and of course my dad. But I'm sure all of us can agree that we could not have asked for a better grandfather. He was just so cool. It's so epic that we had him as a grandfather. He was just such a classic man. He was the barber, well dressed, always well groomed, always looked good. I loved that about him. He had really good taste, obviously a family man, and a great outdoorsman. I really want to inherit all those great qualities. I hope I can at least just inherit one of those. I'll never forget, my dad, after every single ski day, would be like, phone Grandpa, right now. You gotta phone him, tell him about the ski day, tell him all the runs you skied, and I was like, it'll make him so happy. And I would always phone, maybe Grandma would answer, Grandpa would answer. And if I skied, Pony Trail, he'd be like, yo, that was so awesome. You made it down a green run? That's crazy. He was equally as stoked if I made it down the Pony Trail before I made it down Spanky's Ladder. It didn't even matter to him. He was always so stoked on that. It was just so awesome. And I think a lot of you will also remember, at least I think Nicole does, is whenever you'd have dinner with him or you'd be a family group, he would give us a toonie to give him a shoulder rub. And he loved it. He was like, yeah, I'll give you a toonie. That was $1 a minute. That was good money. That was so epic. And I remember, this is a good one, the first time I ever drank schnapps, Grandpa gave me some schnapps, and I thought he accidentally served me one of Grandma's essential oils. It was the hardest thing to drink ever. I still remember just how hard it was to drink. I'm glad it wasn't a Walter Pour. He was good on that. I think I was I think I was only 13. I haven't told my mom that one either, but I'm sure she wouldn't be mad because she knew that he was a man of good taste. He liked the finest things in life, and that's something that they shared, and I think that's something that we can all share. So I'm, again, so happy to be here today and celebrate Grandpa's life the way he celebrated life, with style. A true gentleman. Awesome. Cheers to Walter.
Well done.
Thanks, Sam. And now we're going to have Tara and Lauren coming up, John's family.
My grandpa was a man full of many stories, but very few words. As someone who makes a living off telling stories, this was something I never quite understood about Grandpa, but today I want to share some of the stories that he shared with me. From the times I dressed up at Christmas just so I could hear him say, "Hey, good looking, damn you look good," to the time of my cousin Heather's wedding, when he slipped Angela and I wine and Mike's Hard Lemonade, sorry parents, then got us to dance with him all night, swinging us so hard we almost threw it up. My favorite story of my grandpa was when he came over to celebrate my dad's birthday, and I thought I had ruined it by dropping my dad's entire birthday cake all over the floor. I'll never forget the advice he gave me. He leaned over, picked me up, and said, "Lauren, shit happens. You make the best of it," before promptly leaning over, scooping the pie off the ground, and eating it. That is a life lesson I don't think I will ever forget. So in honor of my grandpa, I promise to continue traveling the world, stay out dancing until 4 a.m., and pour copious amounts of wine in everybody's wine glasses when they aren't looking. Grandpa, you are a fantastic hype man, a great secret keeper, and an incredible advice giver. But most importantly, you are a man who has lived his story, and now we are honored enough to tell it.
Grandpa was a photo album. Like the heavily bound volumes that lined his shelves, he was a living memory keeper, full of stories and snapshots that forever froze a moment in time. So when I think of Grandpa, I think of the pictures he left me with. I picture that black couch and Grandpa's corner in it, material that had molded to his body in a spot that we all knew never to sit in because it was his. I picture his glasses perched on his nose. I picture old friends who would drop by for a schnapps and a chat. I picture him and Grandma as side-by-side reading partners, which still remains my idea of a happy marriage and a loving partnership. I picture the infamous Walter Pour and the "aren't you old enough to drink?" when I wasn't even old enough to drive. I picture the "where are you going next?" as soon as I'd finished telling him about my last trip. I also picture his version of energy bars for hiking, a sleeve of chocolate Lou cookies. And I picture him now, watching us all from atop the ultimate mountain peak. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, I skipped over my daughters. I apologize. Amanda and Cassandra. So this is from Amanda and Cassandra. Walter was the type of person you felt comfortable being around. He was always there to make sure your glass was full while asking you what was going on in your life. He welcomed me into the family with a hug and a bunch of questions. He took the time to listen to what I said without judgment and made me feel like I had his whole attention, and this made me feel loved. My sister Cassandra and I got to know him at my wedding, even more so, and he was a welcome addition. He always had a story to share from his past adventures, some anecdotes about his children, or a list of accomplishments his grandchildren had achieved. And to me that said he really loved his family and he really saw them, all of them, including us, his adopted family. We may not have gotten together very often, but he knew what was going on with my family, what Aspen was learning, and how Jasper's latest surgery had gone. When his health deteriorated, his family rallied with him, each doing what they felt they could, and that tells me he was truly loved. To me, there is nothing better than a life filled with love, and Walter had that from everyone who got to know him. I know I will miss him, but I will tell stories of him to my children so they can get to know the great grandpa who loved life to the fullest. We love you. Amanda, Casey, Aspen, Jasper, and Cassandra. And now we'd like to hear from Adam, who will be representing Alex, Angela, and Austin.
My siblings Alex, Angela, Austin, and I feel so lucky to have lived in the house with Grandpa. We have so many memories that we will cherish for the rest of our lives. One special memory was always getting our first haircuts from Grandpa. He would get his special stool out just for us, and we would hop on there, and he would take his time and make it perfect. I'm sure we were crying half the time though, but he always told me that a head massage was included with every haircut. When we got a bit older, the tables turned, and just like Sam said, we would be the ones giving him the shoulder massage or head massage. He would reward us well with the $2, right, or something, but the real reward was making Grandpa happy, right? You give him a massage, you go, oh man, that's cool. Right? Or Wonder Bar, right? He had a way to always make you feel special, right? And he really appreciated hard work. Growing up, we got to witness what a gentleman he was, right? My whole life living in the house, not once did I see him and Grandma go out and him not open that door for Grandma, right? He'd always open the car door. If he had company coming over, he'd be out on the street, pacing up and down, right? Waiting, going and checking his watch, right? He was always there to greet his guests. And all the time I would see him going for his long walks, and he'd come home with a beautiful hand-picked wildflower bouquet, right, for Grandma. And he was just such a gentleman, and that's something he's passed down onto all of us. He loved to share, and he was always so thoughtful and kind. Every time we would go downstairs, he would send us away with his favorite rye bread. We loved the salami and cheese, but that rye bread was kind of like a hockey puck. But he loved it, and he was a share. He also shared his love for the mountains, right? That's in all of us, right? We all love it. Recently, Angela and Austin went to do one of his favorite hikes, Crown Mountain, and it shows you how athletic Grandpa was. He would have left us all in the dust. I think Austin had to take a couple naps along the way. He was loved by all of us, and his heart was big enough to love us all back, right? And he loved the old family dog as well, and I think he loved that dog more than he loved Angela. Just kidding. But even in his later years, his personality remained unchanged. He always had that big smile on his face, and he was always so interested in what was going on in your life, right? He would make you feel so special. He had an ability to make everyone laugh and have a good time. Whenever it was somebody's birthday, he would always take it to the next level with his singing and hooting and hollering, right? And today being Grandpa's birthday, September 19th, I think it would be appropriate if we sing him happy birthday one last time. So if you'll join us in, and people watching at home, please. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grandpa. Happy birthday to you. Hop, 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 hop. On Channel 4. Thank you, everyone. I know Grandpa's smiling down on all of us right now.
Thank you, Adam. That is the last of our speeches today, and we're going to close now with something I'm calling the last picture show. It's a slideshow put together that has Dad from birth to his passing.
Yes.
yes, I understand that every end as we sit alone, I know someday we must go on. Oh, I'm a lucky man to count on both hands the ones I love. Some folks just have one, yeah, others they got none. Stay with me, oh, let's just breathe. Practice on my skin's never gonna let me win. Under everything, just another human being. Yeah, I don't wanna hurt. There's so much in this world to make me believe. Stay with me, oh, all I see. Did I say that I need you? Did I say that I want you? Or if I did, I'm a fool, you see. No one knows this more than me. As I come clean, I wonder every day as I look upon your face, everything you gave and nothing you would take home. Nothing you would take, everything you gave. Did I say that I need you? Oh, did I say that I want you? Oh, if I did, I'm a fool, you see. No one knows this more than me. And I come cleaner. Nothing you would take, everything you gave. Hold me till I die, meet you on the other side.
Good job.
Grief is the last act of love we have to offer to those we loved. Where there is deep grief, there was deep love. And there is no timetable for grief. Be gentle with yourselves and draw on each other for support. The purpose of life is to walk each other home, back to the heart of our beings. Washington Irving said, "There is a sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues." And I would tend to agree with him. They are messengers of unspeakable love. Accept your tears and expressions of loss. Accept the angels in human form who come along with a word, a hug, a memory to share. Help each other during the difficult times, the holidays, the anniversaries, the birthdays, the times when you will miss him the most. Bless each day that you live and live it to the fullest in honor of Walter and in honor of life itself. Please hold Walter in your heart as I close with the sharing of this poem by Ellen Brenneman. Don't think of him as gone away. His journey's just begun. Life holds so many facets. This earth is only one. Just think of him as resting from the sorrow and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days or years. Think how he must be wishing that we could know today how nothing but our sadness can really pass away. And think of him as living in the hearts of those he touched, for nothing loved is ever lost, and he was loved so much. May you go forward today with a flickering of light in your heart. May the memories of Walter bring comfort. May the words, touch, and presence of others bring solace. And may you be blessed, grateful for a life lived and a legacy carried on. Please go in peace.